Evolve for World Peace, a social movement designed to bring awareness to the #1 root cause of man-made problems like war, crime, poverty, violence, injustice, inequality, and all that type of stuff. The human ego. I'm Jason Kears. I started Evolve for World Peace out of a cynical optimism. I call myself a optimistic cynic of humanity and sort of the drudgery and the negativity and the war, the violence, and all the real sort of heavy stuff that weighs us down as a society, as a people, as a world, whereas I know that we can do better. So let's just go ahead and meet me, along with Evo and Ava, the goodwill ambassadors for Evolve for World Peace. We're going to try to really build a brand here for Evolve for World Peace. This is something that we believe that can go global, that can just kind of spread throughout the community, throughout individuals and throughout each individual's groups. So these little guys right here, they're happy, they're fun, they're friendly, and we think they're going to be great mascots or ambassadors for helping us communicate the message to the world. So what is Evolve for World Peace, E4WP? A social movement to bring awareness to the #1 root cause of all man-made problems like war, crime, poverty, violence, injustice, inequality, greed, hatred, and really anything else that we have a problem with. That #1 root cause is the human ego itself. Why is there a need for Evolve for World Peace? The human ego has negatively impacted every single aspect of our society to the detriment of humanity. This is actually why we've had extinctions. This is why we have global climate change. This is why we have war. This is why we have poverty. This is why there is crime. Because the human ego has intertwined itself to create those manifestations. The human ego is represented in all different aspects of our society, our personal relationships, our professional relationships. Corporations are egoic entities. Religions are egoic entities. Politics, another egoic entity. Well, sub-entities within the umbrella of politics. Media, sports. How many times has there ever been a riot at a sporting event? This is because of the human ego. Nationalism, entertainment, arts, really just anything and everything that comprises society has a reflection of the human ego in it at some point or another. So who should be interested in Evolve for World Peace? Anyone who wants a more peaceful, prosperous future. Does that mean everybody on the planet wants that? There's actually industries based off of creating dissent, creating violence, creating war. The military-industrial complex itself right now would have zero profits if our world, if our planet was covered with peace. There are very powerful people in place right now to prevent that from happening. They want war. War is profitable. War means money to the bottom line of some other corporation. This presentation is based on the 8 steps of awareness. We will analyze these 8 steps in further slides. Step 1, ego awareness. Become aware that we all have an ego, a personal sense of self-esteem, self-worth, or self-importance. Awareness, to have conscious knowledge. Awareness is different than a belief because awareness is based off of facts and circumstances around you rather than just an interpretation of facts or circumstances around you. So for example, if it were raining outside, I could say it's a crappy day out. That would be a belief. But if I said when it was raining outside, it is raining outside, that is a conscious awareness that it is raining outside. Beliefs and awareness, different things. Belief and judgment could be considered to be the same thing. Yeah, it's bad outside, it sucks outside, it's raining, it's wrecking my day. That's a belief. The fact is, it's raining. That's an awareness. Let's take it from the perspective of the ego. We know the ego is a self-importance of oneself. What's the opposite of self-importance? Altruism. Another word for that could be humanitarianism. This would be the selfless love or care of others around you, more precisely humanity itself. This is altruism. This is humanitarianism. This is the opposite of the ego. Now, around that, encompassed with that, intertwining throughout all of that, is spirituality. I looked this up on Wikipedia. Wikipedia says that there is no real agreed upon definition of spirituality right now. Evolve for World Peace would like to really sort of clarify that and say that spirituality is a being's awareness of its non-physical self and its interaction within the universe, or its part of the universe.
What is non-physical self?
Non-physical self could be the human ego itself. It could be a thought. It could be the energy that emanates from you right now. We are bioelectrical beings ourselves, and we are constantly shedding off energy, and we are constantly receiving energy too. That is non-physicality. So we have electricity flowing through us right now. That is non-physicality. Step 2, egoic groups. Become aware that the ego has been shaped subconsciously by the groups of people that influence you. So there's really almost an infinite amount of different groups within the world that have influenced you throughout your life. Family, your gender, nationality, region, social class, your school cliques, religion, employment, sexual orientation, politics, education, culture. So here's a little depiction of the intersection of the social groups that you have been incorporated with or that you have grown up around, you being used loosely, and how they have intersected with the ego to help shape that ego. This is just a small fraction of the types of groups that have affected you, or us in general. There's dozens and dozens more within yourself that you are a member of a group, whether you know it consciously or subconsciously not. So step 3, group ideology. Become aware that every group has its own set of ideologies. An ideology is a set of conscious or subconscious beliefs which constitute a group's values, goals, expectations, or actions. Let's just let that absorb for a second. We all are exposed to ideologies all day long, all the time. Whether we know what they are or not, it's happening subconsciously.
I'll give you a personal example of that if you want.
Joe.
I grew up in a very dysfunctional, extremely unhealthy family. And so when I moved away from upstate New York to Charlotte, at first I lived with my brother, my older brother, but then he moved away. And then I ended up going about 2 years with no contact with my family at all. Mm-hmm. And it turned out that was an incredibly healthy thing for me to get away from my family's ideology and to really find who I truly am and what truly resonates with me. And I had no idea how much my family was holding me back with their ideology until I got away from it for a couple of years.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll get back to ideologies in a few more slides. However, moving ahead, we've got step 4, rationality, tradition, and perception. Become aware that all ideologies are sometimes based in rationality. However, more often than not, they're based in tradition and perception. Let's take a look at some definitions. Actually, even just understanding some of the basic definitions of words and phrases that we use in everyday life help us become much more greatly aware than not understanding the simple definitions. Words we use all the time. Because we've been so surrounded by them, we may not even totally consciously know a definition. What's rationality? The state of being reasonable based on facts. That's rationality. Tradition, the continuation of customs or beliefs from generation to generation. So traditions do not have to be based in rationality. They do not have to be based in facts. Perception, a mental impression or a way of understanding or interpreting something. Some examples of ideology based in tradition or perception are white people are superior. Perception passed down by the white male from hundreds or even thousands of years ago to proclaim themselves the top of the pyramid. Gay people are inferior. A perception and tradition being taught from one generation to the next, in some cases by a regional aspect of one's life. For example, living in the South, you may be exposed to more of a tradition or a perspective based in an ideology of that sort of mentality. A number of the world's religions also perpetuate that sort of traditional ideology. Black people steal. Another sort of perception that's just been passed along a lot of times from generation to generation. Guns make us safer. If that were actually true, if that were an actual reality here in America, then America would be the safest place on the entire world because we have the most guns per capita here. So statistically speaking, we can see that we are not the safest people in the world, and we do have the most guns. So that's actually a perception that is disproved by rationality. War is the way to peace. If that were also true, we would already have peace flourishing throughout the world, since humanity has been embroiled in war after war after war since practically the dawn of caveman. War does not promote peace. War promotes the perpetuation of war and violence. Now, some people say, well, what about when we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Well, that created peace afterwards. Actually, the stopping of that war created the peace afterwards. The war continued to perpetuate itself until a number of people finally died that they said, all right, we're finally done with it. Let's try peace now. It was the thought of peace that created the peace. Women are over-emotional. We have women in the room? How many have ever heard that? Is that a tradition, a perception, or a rationality? Rationality can be backed up by facts and statistics, whereas beliefs or ideologies are only just what somebody makes up to believe to be correct in their mind. When the wealthy become wealthier, the poor also benefit. So once again, facts can lay out the wealthy in America right now are getting more wealthy. That is just a statistical fact. Yet our actual middle class and poor class of people here are experiencing some very negative effects. That actually can be determined by facts and statistics. Human emissions of fossil fuels have no climate effect. So now that we have science in today's modern day and age, we can calculate from 1 year to the next year to the next year to the next decade what the effects of CO2 and other pollutants are doing to our climate. Examples of ideologies based on rationality. So once again, rationality can be proven with facts and statistics. Education is a way out of poverty. So we can just look at national averages and see that people with college educations actually earn more money than people without college educations. Not to say that there isn't the exception to the rule. Anybody can very easily surpass that statistic and come from a place of poverty and move up into an advanced position or a higher social economic status in society. We're only speaking of an average right now. So minds and decisions should be based on facts. If you believe something despite facts and evidence and statistics, then what good does that belief do you? Government should work for the many, not just the few. This is in reference to creating a global peace. In our current political system, we're on the verge of sort of having an oligarchy. Our political system in many cases is controlled by wealthy people. We're seeing a shrinking middle class and a growing poor class of people. A lot of governmental decisions can be tracked, and the effects and results of those decisions can be gauged. Equality has a net positive effect. A healthy mind creates a healthy life, emotionally, intellectually, physically, spiritually. Has anybody heard of PMA? What's PMA? Positive mental attitude. Has there been studies to show the effects of a positive mental attitude on a person's well-being? There has been studies on this. People with negative mental attitudes, in general, have a more negative effect on the physicality of their life, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically as well, too. Who can define for me what a hypochondriac is?
I'm not sure, but I think I have it.
Somebody that consistently, persistently thinks that they have an ailment, all of a sudden, or over time, that ailment actually manifests itself physically in that person's body. Statistically proven facts. Step number 5, thought energy. Become aware of the energies of thoughts, images, speech, and actions. Energies are transferable, and you are sending and receiving energies constantly. These energies create either positive or negative mental impressions on people. Let me ask you this. If I were sitting here going like this, fucking people, can't stand you fucking assholes. What kind of mental impression is this leaving on people? What is it? Negative? Because I'm an asshole, right? I've left a negative impression on you because of my assholeness. Now, if I was just standing up here going, so these energies are transferable. Somehow, I just made this lady over here, I don't even know, really, what's her name? Non? I'm Jason, thank you. Thanks for being here. Somehow she just smiled. She received some bit of positive energy and reciprocated that positive energy with a smile. So when you are receiving positive energies like love, peace, prosperity, confidence, abundance, beauty, success, creativity, when we are receiving those types of energies from people, we are more likely to radiate those energies back. An example of a normal, everyday person, that's Eva, our goodwill ambassador of the world. And when she's feeling happy, or anybody is feeling happy, you may communicate some of that on social media. You may communicate some of that with your coworkers, with your family, with the local school, with your neighborhood, with local businesses, the PTA. The one up there with the earth, that is a rendition of the ethos, which is basically just the amorphous tapestry of society itself. On a small individual level, our ripple effect can be a bit limited. Say, for example, compare yourself to a celebrity. So if a celebrity is having a great day and is putting a positive ripple effect out into the world, that celebrity can have a greater effect on more of the world than potentially you can. When you are receiving energies like war, crime, poverty, hatred, disdain, failure, ugliness, anger, fear, conflict, you are more likely to radiate these types of energies. Now, we are constantly receiving positive and negative energies all the time. So this is just a depiction of a little slice of society around us, sending us a ripple effect of negative energy that we're exposed to on a regular basis. So I've got movies up there, celebrities once again, our justice system, art, music, just our normal social interaction, the people around us, pop culture, religions, nationalism, our economy. Our economy actually produces negative or positive results that we experience the effects of as well. Education, military use, video games, television. How many people have ever seen a negative image on TV? We have, right? We are constantly receiving and giving energies, both positive and negative. The way that I see the general baseline of our society, of individuals and our collective right now, is operating on a slightly negative basis. Examples of that are, you go to work, you can't stand your job. You're not making enough money, they're treating you like you don't want to be treated. You take that negative energy home. Now your kids are feeling that effect. Now your kids are going to school and they're passing that negative effect along to their schoolmates. You sit at home, you watch a murderous, violent, bloody horror movie. I know, right? A lot of people love that kind of movie. Why? Why would somebody love a murderous, violent, bloody, gory horror movie? Because it is resonating mostly with the energy that they have within themselves at that time. Now, that's not to say that they're going to go out and commit a murder that single day. But it leaves space for something like that to happen. When somebody is exposed to a positive, upbeat, happy daily exposure, then what does that do to that individual? It makes them more happy. You can think yourself more happy. Step 6. Choose your reaction. Become aware of the choice of reactions you have to the energies around you. Most people are under the control of the ego trying to protect its established identity. When you are exposed to a potentially negative situation, or you are exposed to a negative situation, in some cases, a positive attempt at diffusing a negative situation or creating a positive spin on a negative situation may be perceived by others as weakness. Has anybody ever felt that sort of energy before? A lot of times this happens out on a schoolyard with little kids. Somebody's pushing somebody else around, bigger kid pushing a smaller kid around, jockey kid pushing a nerdy kid around, and somebody doesn't like it, and they step up in between them, and they're like, hey, big kid, why don't you just chill out, relax? What does that big kid do then, in most cases? Protecting his own identity, his own position of supposed authority or self-importance over somebody else. He starts calling that kid a pussy, a weakling, pushing him around. That's kind of why I put that Hulk up there too. Really resonates with a lot of what kids are exposed to on an every single day basis here in America. You don't want to make me mad. Really? Why not? What are you going to do? Freak out and beat the shit out of somebody? You're going to exert your ego, your force, your dominancy over somebody? Why don't you just relax? Well, when you relax, you can function on a conscious, present-minded level where the choice of reflecting negativity to egos battling back and forth or creating a positive energy, that choice becomes yours. There's been several occasions when I've been driving down the road, the freeway, street sometimes, and I accidentally cut somebody off. And a person next to me like flips me off and gives me the finger, and I'm like, sorry, and I smile and wave back at them. And then they're like confused. They were like totally taken out of their place. They were expecting me to say, fuck you, I don't care. I cut your ass off and that's how it's going to be. No, I realized, okay, that was my fault. So I'm sorry. I made your day a little worse off for cutting you off. Now I want to put a spin on it. Smile, wave. All right, see you later. And I didn't get smiles back at that time. I got like stupefaction. I got like, what is this guy? It's like, what? He just smiled at me. In projecting positivity, if you don't at least receive positivity back, you've at least dumbfounded them. You've at least given them something else to think about rather than reciprocating that negative energy back. And now I think probably the next time that those people that flip me off, they're probably not going to have so much of an edge the next time because there had to have been a mental impression left upon them. We do retain all of our mental impressions, whether we recall them or not. Okay, step 7, the collective. Become aware that your individual thoughts, actions, and energies combined with society's to create a collective conscious and subconsciousness. The average condition of thoughts create the reality that society lives with. Check out that icon up there, everybody. There's 3 little characters up there. One of them appears to be very mad or sad, pissed off in some way. The other is sort of blasé, a little bit midline. And the green little character there is very happy, outgoing and bubbly. So on that spectrum right there, from negative to positive, those 3 individuals within society have just created a little microcosm of a collective. And the average thought or the average energy polarity of that collective is now slightly better than neutral. If we can get there as a collective society, we'd be better off than we are right now. So the way that I see our average collective right now is slightly negative. We still have a load of war. We still have domestic violence. We still have road rage. We still have crime, poverty. We still have all of the negative effects that we're dealing with as a society right now. Whether you are dealing with it individually or not, you, unknowingly or knowingly, are still a contributor of it. So all elements of society can be looked upon on a spectrum from lowest to highest, positive to negative. Education, incarceration, consumption, employment, equality, poverty, crime, health, wealth, science, energy use, military use. So we're in a consumption-driven economy, which is the economy of capitalism. I was watching a TV commercial, and it was of this like triple dark, thick chocolate cake. And it's a commercial to women. It was basically saying, had a bad day? Indulge yourself. Let your shit go. I think that's what that commercial said. Anyways, it's to that corporation's bottom line to encourage the consumption of a thick-ass, fat chocolate cake that you really don't have any real need for. We actually live in a society of excess. There's very little moderation within our society. Individuals may have a great deal of moderation, but collectively as a society, we have little moderation and much more excess. So hopefully this presentation is even bringing a little light to where you are or where any of the things that you think about or don't even think about but subconsciously are contributing to, like education or like incarceration or poverty or any of those things. We are contributing to the current state of those elements. So every element of society can be based upon current and future information. Individuals add those thoughts to the collective. We're doing this subconsciously too. Not everybody is waking up thinking about, oh, how can I make education worse today? How can I incarcerate more people today? They're not thinking about that consciously. But the way that society has conditioned us to think about those and the way that we react to those energies being received, very often we perpetuate those conditions. When the average thoughts of the collective are more positive, then the world will have more peace. When the average thoughts of the collective are more negative, the world has more violence. The world has more war. The world has what we have right now. If we have 100 people in this room that are completely overwhelmingly positive and uplifting and upbeat and great, and one person walks in with a machine gun and starts blowing us away, when we look at not just this microcosm of the 100 people in this room, but we look at what created that person to come in here in the first place with a machine gun, which was society itself, to allow that to be an acceptable action to be taken by a particular person, then we are still complicit in that person's actions. So step 8, practicing evolving. Knowing and practicing the 8 steps means you have evolved to some degree, slightly releasing the ego's grip. So even just having a simple conscious awareness that these 8 steps exist in the world right now means that they have probably had some sort of effect, whether it be conscious or subconscious, on you right now. You guys have already been affected long ago. That's why you came to this meeting in the first place. But more practice, more conscious awareness will promote further growth. So I personally am really big into the yoga community. I practice yoga on a regular basis, and I meditate less than that. But these are two examples of two actions that people can take that will greatly increase one's self-awareness. That new self-awareness then still has the potential of a ripple effect throughout society, throughout the collective consciousness. This will increase the peace. Love y'all. E4WP. So moving beyond the 8 steps itself, Evolve for World Peace has a gigantic big picture plan of growth. It's cultural influence. It is to actually help influence society to be on a more positive polarity. So how does that happen? School programs. Why don't we teach our children to just think more positively from the start? Small groups and large groups, that's what we're experiencing right now. This is a small group. This is the exact type of thing that can be at Wanderlust, that can be exposed to a group of thousands of people. As I already said, I'm in the yoga community, and so when I teach yoga, I'm a teacher as well, I start to give a little bit of these principles of this awareness to those students as well. That can translate into daily and weekly workshops and practices. Celebrity and political endorsements and people of a higher stature compared to us lowlings over here, speaking and emanating this same type of energy. Can anybody think of any politician or any celebrity that might have a similar sort of mindset that we're talking about right now?
Jimmy Carter.
Cool.
Oprah Winfrey.
Big O. Love her, right?
Bill Burr.
I was hoping that'd come up. Bernie Sanders. Sure. So there are politicians, there are celebrities right now of a higher socioeconomic stature than we are right now, of a higher crowd reach than we are right now. If any one of those people starts espousing or projecting or emanating or giving this sort of ripple effect, how much more of an effect would that have on other parts of society? Clothing lines. This logo was designed with the intention of enticing somebody's mind, somebody's imagination. Jay's wearing a shirt, Bob, Mark, Elena, way in the back over there, me. This type of logo on a piece of clothing can emanate this sort of energy throughout society. It's already happening with everything else we're wearing and doing right now. Why not have a positive message on it? Social media, Facebook, meetup.com, really any sort of social media. If anybody is resonating with what we're talking about here tonight, I would love for everybody to go home and get on their social media and do a little promotion. Get other people to come to one of these meetings too. We'd love to have this on a either monthly or start to have maybe twice a month meetings. This is movies. Because I actually believe that the movie industry is one of the largest influences on society that we know today. Every single movie that we watch has a message that we are receiving. These first two are already completed scripts that can be sold and produced in Hollywood or even right here, which have these similar messages that we are talking about right now. Evolve for World Peace's mastermind group and board of directors. In order for this type of mentality and thought and positive energy to create a greater ripple effect throughout society, there needs to be more people involved. And I'm calling it a mastermind group, or those more analytical people can call it a board of directors. We need a person or persons in a business development position. I'm writing content and sort of being like a figurehead. Fundraising and investors, that's what's also going to be able to help this movement be able to produce the type of content that other people are going to be willing to take in. PR, marketing, partnership building, that general sort of process, even a legal department, film production, that's going to be big. And that concludes this portion of tonight's event.